Have you ever stopped to think why thinking positive sometimes makes your life worse? Not better, worse. You repeat affirmations. You force a smile. You tell yourself everything will work out. But deep down, something feels off. Because while you're trying to feel good, your reality isn't changing. And that creates a silent conflict inside your mind. A tension between what you say and what you actually believe. And that tension, it doesn't motivate you. It drains you. It confuses you. It keeps you stuck. So what if I told you that the popular idea of just think positive is not only incomplete, but actually sabotaging your growth? Let me show you something most people never realize. Imagine someone broke, frustrated, and overwhelmed. Now imagine this person wakes up every day and says, I am rich, I am successful, everything is amazing. Sounds powerful, right? But here's the problem. Their brain doesn't believe it, not even a little. And when your brain detects a lie, it doesn't reward you. It resists you. It creates doubt. It amplifies the gap between fantasy and reality. So instead of feeling empowered, you feel like a fraud. And slowly, you start associating effort with disappointment. That's the hidden cost no one talks about. The truth is brutal. Your brain is not designed to respond to fake positivity. It's designed to respond to evidence, to patterns, to consistency. And when you keep feeding it statements that don't match your reality, you're not reprogramming it, you're confusing it. It's like trying to convince yourself you're in shape while sitting on the couch eating junk food. The words don't match the behavior. And your mind always trusts actions over words, always. That's why so many people feel stuck even after months or years of positive thinking. Because they're skipping the part that actually creates change. And here's where it gets dangerous. Because when positive thinking doesn't work, people don't question the method. They question themselves. They think, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Maybe I'm just not meant to succeed. And that belief is far more damaging than any negative thought, because now you're not just stuck, you're blaming yourself for being stuck. And that creates a loop, a vicious cycle where you try harder, feel worse, and lose confidence over time, all while believing you're doing the right thing. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to ignore a real problem by just staying positive? Maybe with money, maybe with your own habits. You told yourself everything was fine. You avoided the discomfort. You pushed away the truth. And for a while it felt easier, but then reality hit. Hard. Because problems don't disappear when you ignore them. They grow, they compound, and positivity becomes a mask. A way to escape instead of confront. That's not strength. That's avoidance disguised as optimism. Real growth doesn't come from pretending things are okay. It comes from seeing things exactly as they are, without filters, without illusions. Because clarity creates power. When you can look at your situation and say, this is where I am, this is what's wrong, this is what needs to change, you regain control. But when you hide behind forced positivity, you lose that control. You become passive. You wait for things to magically improve. And they rarely do. Because the world doesn't respond to how you feel, it responds to what you do. Now here's the twist most people miss. I'm not saying positivity is useless, not at all, but it has to be grounded in reality. It has to be earned. Real confidence doesn't come from repeating phrases. It comes from proof, small wins, consistent actions, tiny improvements that stack over time. That's how you build belief. Not by convincing yourself you're already at the top, but by proving step by step that you're moving forward. That's a completely different mindset, and it changes everything. Think about this. The most successful people you admire, do you really think they just thought positive all the time? Or did they face brutal truths? Did they push through discomfort instead of avoiding it? Because that's what real progress looks like. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to admit things you don't want to admit. And that's exactly why most people avoid it. They choose the easier path, the illusion of positivity, because it feels good in the moment, but long term, it keeps them exactly where they are. There's a concept you need to understand. Your mind is constantly trying to protect you from discomfort, and one of the ways it does that is by creating false reassurance. It tells you, don't worry, everything will be fine, even when you're not taking action, even when you're stuck. And that reassurance feels good. It gives you temporary relief. But it also kills urgency. It removes the pressure to change. And without pressure, there's no growth. That's why blind positivity can be so dangerous. It numbs you instead of pushing you. So what's the alternative? It's something far more powerful. Honest thinking. not negative thinking, not toxic positivity, honest thinking, the ability to look at your life without distortion, to see both the problems and the possibilities, to acknowledge where you are without lying to yourself, and then take action based on that truth. Because when your thoughts align with reality, your actions become sharper, more focused, more effective. And that's where real change begins. Let's make this practical. Instead of saying, I'm successful, when you're not, say, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm working on it. Feel the difference? One creates resistance, the other creates momentum. One feels fake, the other feels real, and your brain responds to that. It starts to believe it, because it's grounded in truth. And when belief and action align, progress becomes inevitable. That's the foundation most people are missing. Another thing no one tells you, negative emotions are not your enemy. They're signals, indicators that something needs attention, something needs to change. When you feel frustrated, it's not a sign to ignore it and stay positive. It's a sign to investigate, to ask, why do I feel this way? What's causing this? Because inside that discomfort, there's information, valuable information. And when you learn to use it instead of suppress it, you gain an edge most people never develop. Think about athletes. Do they ignore pain and just smile through everything? Or do they analyze it, adjust their training, improve their technique? Because that's how progress works. Feedback leads to improvement, and your emotions are part of that feedback system. When you silence them with fake positivity, you lose that signal. You lose the chance to adapt. And that keeps you stuck longer than necessary. Now imagine a different approach. You wake up, you assess your reality honestly, you identify one thing you can improve, you take action, not perfect action, not massive action, just real action, and you repeat that daily. Over time, those small actions compound, they create results, and those results build confidence, not artificial confidence, real confidence, the kind that doesn't disappear when things get hard, because it's based on evidence, not illusion. This is where most people get it wrong. They want to feel confident before they act, but confidence comes after action, not before. Waiting to feel ready is the biggest trap, because that feeling rarely comes, especially if you're relying on positive thinking alone. But when you act despite uncertainty, you create proof, and that proof rewires your mind faster than any affirmation ever could. Let me challenge you with a question. What if the reason you feel stuck isn't because you're not positive enough, but because you're avoiding reality? What if the breakthrough you're waiting for is on the other side of honesty, not comfort, not illusion, honesty? Because once you see things clearly, you can finally move strategically. You stop guessing, you stop hoping, and you start building. And here's the part that changes everything. You don't need to become a different person overnight. You don't need extreme motivation. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need alignment between what you think, what you say, and what you do. When those three are in sync, your energy stops leaking, your focus sharpens, and progress becomes natural, not forced. So the next time you hear someone say, just think positive, remember this. Positivity without action is delusion. Positivity without honesty is weakness. But positivity built on truth, backed by action, that's unstoppable. That's the kind of mindset that actually transforms lives, not overnight, but permanently. If this made you rethink the way you see your own mindset, then don't ignore it, because awareness without action changes nothing. Take something from this. Apply it today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, even if it's small, because small actions, repeated consistently, create massive results over time. And if you want to go deeper into understanding how your mind really works, how to break patterns that keep you stuck, and how to build real, unshakable confidence, then make sure you stay connected, because what you've seen here is just the surface. And the deeper you go, the more control you gain over your own life.